Some of us would say that the perfect tattoo does exist, while others would disagree and say that tattoos are never perfect. Me personally, I have never seen a perfect tattoo, no matter how good the tattoo is. No matter what, I have always seen some sort of technical imperfection, whether it was a little bit of overworking, maybe a little bit of a blowout here, maybe some line inconsistencies upon healing, maybe even line inconsistencies upon depositing the ink into the skin. The idea is, though, no matter what, no matter how professional, no matter how world renowned, or no matter how great the artist is, I have always seen imperfections in every single tattoo. I've come to conclusion and maybe just formed my own opinion that this is kind of the nature of tattoos. There really is no such thing as perfect, so we really want to adjust and accommodate our expectations to kind of fit reality in terms of what we could be expecting when we are looking into getting a perfect tattoo. Allow me to paint a picture. Let's say a client comes in and says that they want this tattoo right here. The catch is they don't want any imperfections at all. There cannot be not even a single mistake. They want their tattoo as close to perfect as we can possibly get it. How would you respond and what would you do? Let me know in the comment section down below. Pause this video. I really want to hear how you would respond to a client asking you to be robotically perfect. Allow me to speak for myself here. If a client came to me and asked me for this exact design and they told me they want this with no mistakes and they want an absolutely perfect tattoo. So we see right here that there are two thicker size O-rings and a bunch of different areas with really detailed deposits and varying tones. I'm going to have to pay a lot of attention to detail, and I'm really going to have to take my time. There are in fact multiple ways that I can go about accomplishing this tattoo. However, because the client said that they don't want any mistakes, because they are setting their expectations really high, they really don't want any mistakes, they are really looking for a perfect tattoo. That, for me as the artist, puts a lot of pressure on me and also changes everything, because I understand as the tattoo artist the practicality of healing and the practicality of just tattoos in general, and how the expectation versus reality can have a very big gap in between. My response to this client would be this. What I can do for you as the artist is I can give you a close to perfect tattoo. I would use dot work. I would use nothing but dot work to apply this entire tattoo. That right there is the small change that I would make to accommodate and compensate the client's wants and needs. We have to remember, the client wants an absolutely perfect tattoo, no mistakes, and they want everything that they see here. In order for me to do that as the artist, I would have to use dot work and only dot work. That is how I'm going to apply this. So the client would have to understand that I'm not going to be doing any sort of hard lining or anything like that. Although it may read like a hard line, it's still going to be dot work. The client would also have to understand the reality of the expectations when it comes to perfect. I can promise and guarantee them a tattoo that will hold up and read very, very cleanly. But in terms of being absolutely perfect, that's just not something that I can fully believe in, just because our skin and other variances aren't perfect to begin with. That right there is exactly how I would handle this client. I would take on the tattoo and I would be able to let them know that I could potentially do a darn near perfect tattoo. However, it is going to be with solely dot work. The reason why I chose dot work as the technique to use to apply a tattoo for a client who's looking for perfection is because with dot work, I can run at a very low voltage and I can be very accurate with each and every time I touch down the needle to skin where I deposit my dots. If I don't want the ink in certain spots, then it won't be there. I don't have to worry about wobbling or anything like that because I'm not going to be committing to any sort of hard lining. Instantly, I remove a lot of the stress of having to do a perfect tattoo by simply picking dot work and just using dot work to build up the entire tattoo. That is the give. That's a takeaway. Now, I'm sure there's going to be artists that are brave enough just to use like a 111 round shader to line this whole thing and then do the same thing with a smaller round shader. That's completely acceptable too. However, The client wants a darn near perfect tattoo, and in order for me as a tattoo artist with my skill sets and abilities, in order for me to deliver on that behalf, I would have to use dot work. So you can kind of see how I'm thinking. Why I'm exhausting this part of the video so much is so that way you can kind of take that with you and apply that to your future tattoos that you take on. I'm going to be using my MusoToku Mercury M-1 tattoo machine, dynamic black, Reelskin fake skin, simple Scotch shop wipes to clean up the fake skin, petroleum jelly to remove my excess, Phantom tattoo gloves. I will be leaving my Amazon affiliate links and other affiliate links for you in the description below to the gear featured in this video in case you want to check it out on your end. It's also very important to me that I use a needle precise enough for me to accurately deposit each and every single dot. I'm not only going to be depositing dots, I'm also going to be layering up dots, and to do that I'm going to be using this Police CNC 3-round liner. This is going to be a 003 round liner, so this is going to be a really fine needle right here. For the technical aspect, I'm going to take my time with the very simple process of applying dot work. To some it may be simple depending on how much you do it. I'm running at 5 volts even, and for this I'm going to confidently apply each and every dot that I do with confidence. I know where the stencil is. I'll have to go out of my way to lose the integrity of this area right here. So circles or any part of this tattoo I'm no longer fearful of. Even of the client's request of doing an absolutely perfect tattoo, I'm no longer scared of that because I have a practical plan of approach, which is to use dot work all the way through. Calmly, confidently apply dots all over the place. I don't want to go outside the bounds of my design here. I want to stay within those confines there. I'm going to dab away. Now, depending on the level of saturation and what I'm trying to reach, tones and gradients, that's really going to determine how many layers that I need to go over this area. That's going to vary from artist to artist and design to design. Every design is going to have different intricacies. But you can see though that it's going to be really hard to ruin that circle integrity right there at the center of this mandala. I could even do a little bit of stipple cross hatching to apply more layers of saturation, like so, and then circular motions as well for more saturation. So the idea is building up this area as cleanly as I can until it's done. And you can kind of see here that that right there is absolutely, I guess, perfect the way the client wants it. There's nothing wrong with this area right here. Everything is defined. The circle's integrity has been captured. You can't really tell that I used dot work because of the saturation. However, that is the technicality behind it. That is how I would go about applying a perfect tattoo. It's important to understand we should always strive for the best that we can do when we tattoo. However, this video specific, I wanted to talk about the logic and the ways that we can go about adjusting to apply next to perfect tattoos. We don't have to be intimidated with requests that we may think that are difficult, when in actuality they probably really aren't that difficult. Same thing right here. First thing I'm going to do is I establish the boundary. So I get the needle tip and I go right up to the edge of the circle, and this is what allows me to hold true to the integrity. I'm not going outside, I'm not straying too far from it. I'm applying this as cleanly as I can. There we go. I'm going to do that with the other side. You see, even with the skin bouncing around on me like crazy, I'm still able to be really accurate. Now, I wouldn't be able to guarantee those same results with lining, just because with lining there's too many unpredictable things that can happen. Wobbles, skin bouncing, you get the idea. And then from here, with these little areas, I'm going to pay special attention to them just to make sure that I'm capturing the integrity, and I'm going to do that all the way around. Here, bring it around, comes up, around this way, around, and repeat. Just going to stay as true as I can to the integrity of the design when areas get tough. But that right there is exactly how I would go about applying a perfect tattoo, is by simply using dot work. I think clients have to understand it's really easy to mess up a tattoo. Like a lot can go wrong. So to get a tattoo that's cleanly applied and that reads well is more than what we could ask for as a tattoo collector, I feel. There we go. From here, I have my boundary established. I can begin to fill in everything to reach the same level of saturation that we did with this inner circle right here. To do that, I'm just going to pick a spot and then begin applying dot work in here all the way from one side to the other until it's optimally saturated, if that's a word, but you get the idea. So this is just going to be that process of dot work application here until it's saturated. I've completed this centerpiece right here. In my professional opinion, these are really good solid results. This is as good as I can do for a client. You can see all three centerpieces. The little dot is nice and saturated. Circle integrity was captured. Same thing with the inner ring right there. Everything was boundarized and nice. The whole entire circle integrity was captured, as well as the little inner details, and the thicker ring right here has been captured, as well as those inner details. I did all of this using the dot work technique only, with some stipple shading on top for saturation. Majority of it was applied with dot work. So you could see I am practically able to deliver what I can as the artist with the current skill sets that I possess. This is going to vary from artist to artist, so I encourage you to really exercise your strong suits and really exercise knowing what you can and cannot do, and figuring out the best approach that you can take to accomplish the best results for any given tattoo. As I mentioned earlier, I don't feel like perfect tattoos are necessarily a thing. However, we can definitely do a tattoo to where we next to knock it out, and when people read it, it looks darn near perfect. That is what I am always going to strive for. I feel like that is a good medium. I feel like that is a good place to be with practical expectations when it comes to tattoos. I would repeat this dot work technique throughout the entire tattoo, and the entire integrity is going to be captured. All I have to do is take my time, be real meticulous, keep my eye on the needle tip, make sure I'm depositing each and every single dot intentfully. That is how I would go about applying a next to perfect tattoo. Should you have any questions at all, I encourage you to drop a comment down below. I'll do my absolute best to assist you in the best possible direction. If you found this video helpful, please consider giving this video a thumbs up and subscribing to my YouTube channel, as I will be bringing more videos like this for you all. With that being said, I appreciate you, your time, and your support. Thank you very much for watching. Hope you have a great day.